Joining us for this work session relating to our Public Safety Center and the funding and financing of the same. So with that, some of the stuff you're looking to bring forward, we did have a informational only meeting with our jail expert, bonding expert, and our underwriting expert to fill the commissioners in on what next steps are going to look like as far as making this project a reality. Some of those discussions took some very simple points, others were far more complex. So we're having some public workshops so that we can talk this through amongst ourselves, where we can have discussions and deliberations that will ultimately lead to decisions. That being said, we're literally going to be working on a draft official statement. That's a document that the county would present to potential bond takers so that they would better understand what it is that we are doing and our worthiness to be able to service the debt associated with those bonds. And we are making a sincere effort to advance the decision-making process through these public discussions. With that, again, we're working on putting a framework together, a model, if you will, of what will and will not be funded going forward. So we're just, again, putting a strong effort together so that we can capture this information and get it into the hands of the experts on the bonding side of things so that we can see literally what our credit worthiness ultimately will be. That being said, Jason, there were 4 real points there. I kind of liked, I think we had similar notes on that, but I kind of liked your note-taking sounded much nicer than mine. Did you want to kind of throw those 4 points out?
Yeah, I can certainly try, Commissioners. Thank you. Some of the takeaways from my perspective of our meeting and learning from those folks and former Director Matus, the importance of our county's a AA rating and the benefit that that provides to the entire county, not just the potential debt that we may have, but our utilities, for example. We often are out to market to finance substantial infrastructure projects, and that clearly helps with the rates, et cetera. The institutional framework was stressed. How do we operate as a county? From leadership to finance to staffing was a note. Our economy, Lake County's economy, based on what's called Moody's scorecard that we have that has been provided for us. And I think we all know Lake County is in a very, very good, the county government in a good position fiscally. The county economy, comparatively speaking, is in a good position to the point where we'll probably never capture the highest bond rating just based on the size of the county and the taxable base that we have. That is not a negative issue. That's just the way that we are shaped and our market is shaped. Our leverage position was the 3rd point I had, Commissioner. And if I'm missing some, please jump in. Leverage is key, and I think we have some leverage right now. Our outstanding debt, GO debt, is minimal. Well, comparatively speaking, we have about $1.1 million over the next 2 years, Joel, I think that's right, for the courthouse debt. That will come off the books after the payment in 2025, so that'll free up some liquidity in the tune of I'll just say $1 million. That was kind of strategically planned for the past number of years, knowing kind of the rough timeline on when the Public Safety Center may come online. So that leverage is a positive for us. We also have to keep an eye on our pension obligations per the Ohio Revised Code. As the commissioners know, it's been talked about a number of times. I think it was in 2012, 2013 that the finance director created a payroll liabilities account, a budget stabilization account, economic development account, et cetera. Those have been funded very properly, so we're in a good position there, but we have to keep an eye on that pension obligation that's required. And then just our performance, our finance performance on where we stand today. Obviously, we're in one of the better cash positions that we've been in, but as you have heard from multiple folks, that the interest earnings that we are experiencing are one-time earnings. I think we'll probably learn a little bit more today at 10 a.m. with the Investment Advisory Board on what the end of this year looks like, maybe a forecast into next year. So we have talked about collectively internally that those one-time funds, the interest earnings, should be directed to not to non-operating costs, so capital, i.e. Public Safety Center, permanent improvements, et cetera. I appreciate the commissioners. We've been, when we transfer funds, we are transferring into those buckets of funds that have significant obligations and potential obligations in the future, notably the Public Safety Center, which is plus or minus around $40 million in cash today, and that's an approximate number without looking at the most recent Munis report. The emphasis, one of the things that was noted, and Commissioner, tell me to stop if you want, your county's emphasis on sales tax. Obviously that's our primary funding mechanism throughout the state of Ohio. How do we prepare for reductions? If the economy does slow down and sales slow down, assuming we're in a debt position, we have payments to make, how do we make up that delta should we have a reduction? And if I could go back a moment on the investment earnings, as we have heard, a lot of times when investment earnings are up, which they are, I think we're at about 9 or 10 million right now. A couple years ago we were at $1 million, so that's a significant increase. There are other revenues in the county that go down, so there is a bit of a counterbalance that, as you guys have heard from former Finance Director Matus, we have to keep an eye on, and I know you have. So keeping a proper fund balance in the general fund, permanent improvement fund. We did not have a permanent improvement fund a number of years ago, and when Mark Ifelice or Paul Stefanko or whomever come to my office with a permanent improvement need, it's not $500. These are $400,000 elevators. These are $600,000 roofs. So having the foresight to have that permanent improvement account created and funded is critical right now. I was talking to Mark Ifelice a couple days ago. I think he has about 18 projects in the works right now. Needed projects, but we have to be able to continue to fund those projects down the road as it relates to potential debt for the safety center. As I noted, we have modest debt obligations right now, and we'll ultimately be out of that in 2025. Some challenges: any depreciation of the tax base, although I don't see that right now. I would defer that to the county auditor on what he sees on real estate. The reliance on sales tax, we've seen that ebb and flow. Who knows where the economy is going to go? Private sector indicators lately have shown some layoffs. I'm not sure what that will be, usually on the rear of that sort of a thing, but and then a substantial increase to potential debt, i.e. public safety debt. We have to counterbalance that with our reserves and the ability to operate the county in totality. Any new debt will put pressure on that bond rating that I noted, which is an important factor from the experts in the room. As a sense of scale, if I may back up, we had our safety center meeting yesterday. Our first estimate is due, schematic design estimate, November 20th, Commissioner. I think we heard November 20th we'll have a first number. That may be a little bit larger than we would like, but that's part of the planning and design process, and we will start to work that back. So we've got 30 days before that number comes in. But an assumption or a benchmark that was issued and discussed, $100 million issued. If we issued $100 million worth of debt at 5% over 30 years, is about a $6 to $6.5 million debt service. That gives us, that's just a working number at this point. So we would have to strategically figure out how we would pay that debt on an annual basis and maintain the overall functions of the county. Another question: with a new jail or any new project, will that result in any operational savings? Our goal, the sheriff's goal, has been, and I think continues to be, is to be a net neutral on the staffing. But who knows? We have a brand new facility. We've heard time and time again, not only the incarceration of the individuals in there, but the manpower it takes for the treatment, the medical staff, et cetera, I would guess will only continue to rise. So I think the operations of a new safety center well, they already are, but I think they're going to continue to have different challenges operationally. We have the great correction staff officers, but it's the social services, the private vendors that come in and provide support service. I think probably that's going to continue to grow. So we have to keep an eye on the debt service and the county's operation budget in totality. And Commissioner, I think that was my takeaway from our work session. Just to give folks a kind of a rough timeline to do we're probably in mid-November going to enter into a pre-construction contract with our design builder, which is the contractor. If we've talked about, Commissioner Hamercheck brought this forth 2 years ago, we're using the bridging design build method, which will allow here shortly the builder to sit side seat with our architect HOK to vet the constructability of what our architects are designing. I think that's going to prove beneficial not only up front, but on the tail end with a reduction in any potential change orders, because the guys and gals swinging the hammers will have been at the table during the design phase. So that is anticipated. They are anticipated to come on board about the same time that schematic design is put in place. At a certain time, HOK, the designers, will hand over the design to the design build team, where they will finish off the balance of the design and potentially, and this will be a commissioner's call, release early packages, i.e. Site work and civil engineering. That could be as early as late spring, early summer. But ultimately, the design build team will issue what's called a guaranteed maximum price to the commissioners, otherwise known as a GMP. According to the schedule, that GMP is slated, I think, for midsummer. I'm going to say July or August at this point in time. But that's not when we start our analysis, to the commissioner's point. There's a 12-week lead time to prepare the bond package. So if you back out 3 months, we're in February or March when we have to start, I think Commissioner Hamercheck noted it in his opening remarks, our clear plan of finance. That's what we will need to do. That outside folks will help us with that. Probably take a trip to Chicago or St. Louis to the bonding agencies and go through a very significant, deliberate, intensive interview process on the state of the county. So these meetings are timely in the sense of continuing the conversation on what things look like. But the first of the year, if we back out 12 weeks, is when the GMP process will start, even though the GMP will not be available until the summer. So there's a 12 to 14 week lead time and all the work that we'll need to, and then go to market. So at this particular point, if financing comes to fruition, we're looking to start, and this is an approximate right now, September would be the go start for construction of a new public safety center. Thanks.
Our discussion literally began during the informational meeting with a very simple statement: where are we at in the process? So as Jason just concluded talking schedules, what are the milestones that we have to hit in order to make this project a reality, and the budget? So in addition to the GMP, which is the guaranteed maximum price, working backwards, there's the design development, and then there's going to be the schematic design. Schematic design is what should be available
November 20th.
in mid-November, right?
The first schematic design estimate will be due in mid-November. Once the schematic design, if I may answer,
Yes.
is completed, we will then migrate, and that'll be an approval process. Then we'll migrate to design development, which HOK will work towards, and then the third phase of that, I know you know this, Commissioner, so bear with me, is CDs, is construction documents, which is in the first part of the next year.
And as we go through that process, the reason why meetings such as this are so important, one, the public has a right to know what it is that we're working on, but two,
Yeah, I don't
we
think
want
yours
ourselves-
makes sense.
Oh. Good heavens. So all those wonderful words have been hopefully captured somewhere. Anyway, so just a quick restating where Jason was going into all the detail. We began our informational meeting with the simple question of where are we at in the process, which logically led to the schedule, as Jason had expanded upon, and talking about budget, the notion on setting up the budget working backwards from the guaranteed maximum price, again, the construction documents, design, development, and schematic design. We're at the schematic design stage now where we should be getting numbers early in mid-November. So we're right there. So some of the questions that we need to be looking at, though, is the timing of our commitment versus funding and financing. At the launch of the project, we have been in due diligence. We've been acquiring land. The notion of the acquiring land was to allow a lesser expensive construction given a proper footprint. We're trying to limit the size of the building height-wise, which reduces the necessity of foundations. So it makes a significant there. We've brought on board a good consulting team. We've got HOK, K2M. We're bringing on board our design builder. So we are at that point, though. We're moving forward. We do need to be discussing what the final funding finance package is going to look like. And this must occur at the same time as the guaranteed maximum price. Historically, a lot of folks, myself included, have been of the traditional model where you had 30 to 60 days, then it got down to 30 days, and now these things have to be executed concurrently. Just market driven, so we have our homework assignments, what was suggested by our experts for jail, bonding, and bond underwriting was let's work with some numbers. Some of the number sets that we were shared with, just again to keep the math simple, go through the exercise, we can plug in actuals as our estimates and need of funding is better defined. The number of 100 million for funding was a working number, a debt service of 6.6 million annually, and a presumptive 5% interest rate. So again, those are all just working numbers so that we can have something to move forward and also demonstrate, and this is one of the things they emphasize, demonstrate an expertise and competence to make these decisions. There is a reason why we keep trying to surround ourselves with the experts so that the confidence is there that what we are saying is based on fact and not just opinions. So let's see, there is a previously stated, but I'll restate it because clearly my microphone was turned off. Again, we're working on a draft official statement. That draft will then turn into a preliminary official statement. That preliminary official statement would be the working document that we'd be approaching bond underwriter with, and again, necessary step to show, in very simple terms, credit worthiness and viability. Let's see. The bond process, though, this is where it gets a little dicey, and I say dicey because there's a lot of effort that goes into this. We currently are rated AA1 with Moody's. Given the dollar amount, it is very likely that Standard & Poor's, as Jason had alluded to, there may be a need to be rated by two different agencies, and that's where we really need to have all of our facts set up now and going forward. One of the emphases during the meeting was Lake County is in the business of running a county, not just a jail. So although that jail is a significant component, we do need to be cognizant of there will be ongoing needs throughout the next 30 years. And as Jason did state, leveraging. That is our strongest strength right now, is the fact that we can leverage low debt and a true commitment here to do things in a responsible way. Historically, we've scored very well on the Moody scorecard. One of the things that we need to lock down, we were kind of given a couple of homework assignments. One of them has to do with developing and memorializing a process by which we maintain minimum general fund balances and how we conduct our business historically and traditionally, and I'm saying this for benefit of legal counsel because I hear them talking about such, we have conducted ourselves at the level of AAA rating, and as Jason had referenced, although we are AA1, the limiting factor is nothing that we have any control over. It has to do with the value of property so situated within Lake County. So that's the only thing limiting us from that. The underwriting expert did emphasize that we should and we will need to have a commitment as to what finance model we're going to be following, the standards. And there are different standards. There are these scorecards where, as you maintain, there's a number of debt to, what's your liquidity, your income to debt, shall we say, and keeping in terms that most people can understand. What's our long-term debt, short-term debt, fixed costs, those types of things. So we need to start locking that down. Historically, again, we've conducted ourselves at a AAA level. The decision needs to be made as to what level we will be doing going forward. Let's see, what else? And Commissioner Regovich, jump in if you hear anything missing.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Sir.
If I may briefly, you had mentioned site acquisitions, et cetera, and you talked about trying to build the most fiscally prudent yet operationally efficient building.
Yes.
Part of that process is to future-proof, and that's the word you've used for a long time.
Yes, sir.
We're not in the business of just buying property, but we're in the business of making long-term sufficient economic decisions. So that is a primary reason as to why we have acquired what we have acquired on a fee simple basis, as to long when we are no longer in these positions, that when an expansion is needed, we'll be able to do it right on that same footprint, right within a building with the same space to add the necessary mechanicals and generators, that the laundry rooms are designed big enough for 50. So all that takes a little bit of elbow room. So I just wanted to explain that's the mindset and the strategic planning behind the acquisition of the parcels that we have here and across the street from the current jail.
Excellent. And again, that's a component of management, because our management will be looked at very closely. The skills and abilities of the Board of Commissioners, our support staff, Jason being a longtime employee, Mike Matus having been a longtime employee who got us to this point, Joel DeMar now stepping back into a role that he previously held. So there is some continuity in leadership and management. Those are all factors that are going to be looked at. And the factors that are really going to be drilled down on, are we presenting fact, are we presenting opinion? And I think it was made abundantly clear, Moody's and Standard & Poor's are going to want to see fact. They appreciate our thoughts, but they really want to see something that they can literally, in this case, take to the bank. Some of the cautions that were shared that we need to be cognizant of, and not to jump off this, but I would recommend that we stay with a AAA, and we can have further discussion at maybe our next meeting next week. Formally adopting what our financial position is as far as the scorecard goes and how we're going to be conducting our finances. So I just want to check that off. Obviously, we're going to be pulling in all the bits and pieces to put this draft official statement that'll turn into our preliminary official statement. But some of the cautions that were shared, that current revenues should not be dependent on future surpluses. We cannot be speculative, and we have to have actual numbers. And the other caution is we as the Lake County need to be able to survive a downturn. And that is, if there is a downturn in the economy, we need to be able to do that and basically maintain services at specific levels. Let's see, we got that. Yeah, I think we've hit all the things that were kind of homework assignments for us. So again, this was very important to bring this out in a public way. And I don't know, Commissioner, anything you want to add to that? Did we capture everything?
I was encouraged with that meeting, and that our council had told us that we've been doing things right for quite a long time now, so our history is good. we're going to have hard decisions to make moving forward, as we all know. And if we can put as much money towards this project to bond less is a good goal to have. And moving forward, I think, you know, just maintaining our fund balances and our rating is important for throughout the county, so that the county runs efficiently in all the other departments, as you stated. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that first number is on the 20th.
I'm not.
Well, they warned us that it would be sticker shock, but it's HOK's job at that point to then walk it back to the number that it'll end up being. So I've been pretty impressed with their work so far, and our council so far. I've been impressed with the sheriff and the sheriff's office. We had the meeting yesterday, a design meeting, which continues probably even at a greater pace now. They're getting down into some details with the eye on the future. Like you stated, this is something I hope we're learning from our mistakes in the past, and we are building in something so, you know, hopefully we never need to add to the jail, but the capacity will be there someday, so that we're only putting on an addition and not building a whole new building in 30 years.
Well said. I think it would also be appropriate to point out the efficiency and effectiveness that Sheriff Liam Bruno, through his leadership and that of his team, have been showing in this entire process. The interactions with HOK, K2M, the effectiveness and the efficiency of these meetings is consistently high performing. Any departures from expectations have been immediately addressed and literally resolved in days, not months, not weeks, because again, time is money. I think we've all heard delays in the project are literally looking at $1 million per month if we delay the project. So I think the public has a right to know that the Sheriff's Department under Sheriff Liam Bruno has been an absolute pleasure to work with, and those consultants that we're working with are routinely expressing their pleasure. And we have also, I think it's also safe when we're looking at our design builder, the two that bid, we're very impressed with how Lake County has been comparing and contrasting to other projects. They were sending us some of their best people. In fact, pulling some of their best people off other projects to give us an advantage, which going forward, to your point, we've learned from the mistakes of the past, and they shall not be done.
And
Jason,
I think
please.
the community, as you know, obviously we're still early, the first or second inning here, but we'll be proud of the structure as it appears on Main Street, on Erie Street, excuse me. This is a completely different approach than 40 years ago, 35 years ago, as far as the civic presence, the importance of justice, the sheriff's office, the SWAT team, the detention, probation. It's going to be a completely different look. That if you can imagine the current facility down, connected by parking and pedestrian access, the architectural feel of this building, the churches, and the courthouse is our goal to kind of help, you know, bring the downtown campus together from an architectural standpoint. So I think the community, you know, we're just now starting to see the very, very initial renderings of what that may look like, but it'll look completely different than what folks probably are anticipating. Thank you.
Very good. Have I missed anything from?
I don't believe so. I think it's a great synopsis of what we sat through and the challenge before us.
Excellent. All right, so we'll pick this up again next week before our commissioner meeting and start going through some more conversation. Thank you for joining us today, and let's regroup and re-engage next week. Thank you. All right, and with that, we'll adjourn our workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.